we've set up that traffic as being one particular source of traffic. And actually, we can have a look. This particular example, we have monster listing, then prime listing, graduate jobs, MPU, graduate jobs profile page. So we can actually look at how people are interacting with your site, how many pages visit, how many pages per visit they actually look at which type of site, percentage of new visits, and so on and so on. This is something that you can do quite easily. How does a Google Analytics campaign tag look like? Does it look a bit complicated? Trust me, it doesn't. Yoursite.com, this is the URL of your website, the website where you're actually pointing visitors to. And what we can do is we can append 3 parameters, 3 values to that particular URL. So the first one is, where did this come from? In this particular case, we've actually called it job board. Which particular type of inventory collateral did they actually use to come to your website? Listing. In this particular case, it could be MPU, it could be banner, it could be tweet, it could be Facebook post. And to group all this traffic together, we need a campaign name.
Sorry.
Okay. So let's have a look at how we would track using Google Analytics the visitors coming into your website. Using Google Analytics actually lets us add another metric into that map that we looked at before. So instead of your e-shops, your listings, your pay-per-clicks, your banner, your social media, pointing all to your website. And we use Google Analytics tags in those URLs. You have Google Analytics tracking code on your website, and then in your apply button, you actually have tracking code that lets you track the person that's come from one particular source, one particular collateral, has actually clicked apply. So this is the second sort of stage of what you can actually do. This is one of the easiest ways that we can actually add another metric. So for example, if you have now Google Analytics on your website and you know how many people land, but actually you want to know how many people went to apply in your APX, and you can't track your applicant tracking system. And this is a really good way to actually introduce a new metric to your analytics reports. It's fairly easy to do. Anybody that looks after your website should be able to do that, and this is one of the services that we offer as well. Let's start to get a little more complicated. This is where it starts to get very, very interesting. So we have your inventory that pushes traffic onto your website, and we had a look at how tracking the apply button gives you an extra metric to see how many people go on to your applicant tracking system. And you have to remember, this is all driven by goals, so we can actually set up goals that actually say how many people have used one particular link or another particular link. So you can have multiple links in your website, and you can set all those up as goals. But a little bit of a caveat: Google Analytics doesn't come out of the box and do this. Actually, automatically there's some thinking that needs to be done. But we can also have Google Analytics on your applicant tracking systems, which will give us the application made metric. Now this is notoriously complicated and difficult to do, mainly because of how applicant tracking systems works, their databases, and they don't lend themselves to integrating Google Analytics as easily as a website would do. It's still possible, and we have some of those implementation as well. What we do when this happens and we can track to application made, and this is a metric that the client wants us to track, we use tracking tags, tracking beacons. So 5-6 lines of code which we integrate with an all inventory We actually put those 500-600 codes on the website as well, which is in the same way that Google Analytics works. And then there's 500-600 codes go onto your applicant tracking system as well. All the way to high. This is the holy grail for everybody. What we add at this particular stage is the custom value. So every applicant tracking system, and we go back to the slide that I mentioned before, should accept third-party parameters, referral parameters. So I should be able to tell the ATS when I push somebody on to the applicant tracking system that that person has actually come from X source using Y medium. The applicant tracking system should be able to read that information and say, thank you very much. I assign those values to this job seeker, to this application. That information gets recorded against that application, and then we will know for sure that particular person, that particular job seeker, that particular applicant has made an application and they came from X source, Y medium. Now, our nice development engineering team at Hades have developed a solution to actually understand the key values, the people that come from the website, where they come from, what source, what medium, and then transform those values onto data that we can actually push onto the applicant tracking system. That solution is called Analytics, and it's part of whole process solutions. We are better than offer. Lastly, what we can track and measure doesn't stop here. We need to think about the level of hire and the quality of hire. So we can actually, 1 year down the line, once somebody's being hired and we actually know where they come from, do they still work at the company? Are they actually one of the top performers? Do they actually leave? Not only that, but we can actually look at the level at which we can recruit for. So is a particular job board better for a certain level of applicant, a certain level of hire? Set your goals, very, very important. Track the job seeker journey as we look at the mapping, and measure the performance of your advertising campaign, your website, and your applicant tracking system against the goal. And that's thank you very much.
Keep probably some Holland. I was the founder at Total Jobs and now I'm semi-retirement. But I write an interesting newsletter on these kind of topics on a fairly regular basis. I mean, two different questions. I'll save the more complicated one for last. But I sat at a conference last week where Andy was speaking. And I've been running recruitment conferences around the world for 10 years. And 10 years ago I started to say, are people monitoring the response rates? You know, I used to run a couple of recruitment ad agencies and would always say to print media, did you get any response? And clients used to say, well, the best way to know is actually if we rerun the ad or not. No HR departments, recruitment departments ever used to record and track print media. We're now in a world where absolutely everything is trackable. And yet Andy stood at that conference and asked an audience of 200 people, how many of you are really in detail tracking this kind of stuff? And how many hands went up, Andy?
I think less than a third.
Yeah, a lot less than a third.
I think the question was how many people know their cost per hire?
Okay. Different question, slightly different. I suppose the question is actually how many people here, Andy, are using this, and why is it such a struggle to get recruiting and HR functions to adopt this?
I think this struggle it's an age-old struggle. It's actually integrating website with applicant tracking systems, and really that is the key. The technology is there to actually pass the information on from a website to an applicant tracking system, and any good applicant tracking system should understand. There's the link between the website understanding where this person has come from and then passing that information on, which is something that we've developed as part of as part of the solution, analytics solution. But still, you can very well measure from where people are coming from. We're using something simple like Google Analytics campaign tags, and looking at how many visitors actually land on your website. That is something that everybody should, at the very least, do. Then when it comes to integrating the applicant tracking system, we understand and we recognise that that is the complicated bit, and it does take some technical knowledge, but there shouldn't be really any excuse why people don't attract onto the website.
I think that one of the points is, we talked about this last week, is that our audience is HR. HR role is principally about people, and there's a sort of level of generalism kind of role. They're not specialists. And since we've been having, I think going down to this kind of level, there's a question of, well, who's supposed to be responsible for it? And I think there's been a bit of, not cowboyism, but I think there's been a bit of unnecessary mystique around something that's relatively dull. If you're not interested in metrics or data, you're just not going to be that sort of person. I mean, Steve and I just get excited and we get ripped apart in the office for talking about the power of Google's data. And the problem is, if people don't understand that, they're not excited for it, then when you say, well, actually, when you're piecing together a campaign, a third of the cost goes into planning it right so we can set everything out properly, and a third of the cost goes into actually optimising it on the fly. That's quite a hard sell, especially when you as a client, all you want is the people coming in the network. A lot of clients aren't judged on quality of hire. That's the second part of it. They're judged on bums and seats. And that's a tough call, because what we're talking about is setting a framework that allows you to say, this person you brought in was a higher quality, was a better employee because of the level of metrics that we've instilled. But if you're only judged on bringing people into the organisation, and the two aren't set together. And I think there are, again, last week, I think that a lot of people there were nods around the quality of hire and nods around this kind of frustration, but I think that there has to be a level of recognition that will take time, that the quality of hire needs to be pulled in as well, because you can't just put these bums and seats, because it gets you as a business into problem. All you're doing is just getting hires in and they're leaving in the first 3 to 6 months.
I mean, I'll make you a little prediction. I think in 5 years, you will be negotiating with job boards contracts around quality of hire. I think within 2 or 3 years, the posting model on job boards will be dead. And at least one corporate firm, large global 100 company, who has just done a contract with 3 major job boards based on a quality of hire parameter as part of their remuneration. In the same way as recruitment agencies used to live off commission, I think you're going to see a big change with job boards moving towards, actually, we don't want cannon fodder. I can go and buy 8,000 candidates in 5 minutes. What I want are 5 really good candidates. And I think, interestingly enough, what you're doing and what your client should be doing will make that day even nearer. Why do you want 8,000 responses? I want 5 good ones. Give me the 5 good ones. I'll give you some kind of incentive scheme. So I think that will be a big change. I think you'll see it start to happen. Q4 this year, you'll hear about it. Next year, you'll start to see contracts negotiated on a smaller fee per posting, much bigger fee per quality.
But if you think about it, there's a cost attached to processing X amount of jobs, applications that actually are irrelevant. There's a cost attached to that, and absolutely, if we can actually determine and track and measure and optimise that application process, where we know exactly where we're more likely to have better applications, then we're then going to reduce our the time that we spend on processing their applications, and we can then reduce our cost per hire as well, because we're using the medium of resources to actually work. Question?
My follow-up then, sorry before it was job jacking.
Job jacking, yes.
I mean, the typical post into a job board these days can go across 5 or 6 job boards without you as the client even knowing about it, whether it be aggregators, whether it be...
That increases the likelihood of actually not getting the right applicant, because it is distributed across X amount of aggregators and so on, so you pass it up on total jobs.
Sorry, does everyone know what job jacking is?
Sorry.
No, actually.
Job jacking is where an aggregator will go in and spy the other job boards for jobs, and typically how aggregators make their money is actually serving Google pay-per-click adverts on their website. And because they have a large amount of jobs, because they spider from literally any job board and any career websites that is out there.